Hello, my name is Dave Tran, and this is the Art of the Specific call with Dr. Bill Moss. Dr. Bill, welcome to the Art of the Specific.
All right, thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun. So let's get kind of straight to it. How did you get your start in chiropractic?
Wow, that could probably be a whole story in itself. But I got into chiropractic initially when I was 18. I woke up, I could not move, and my mom was an X-ray tech at the time, and she decided we could go to the hospital, we could try out chiropractic. And by that afternoon, I was able to exercise. I was a competitive distance runner. So just my first experience was incredibly profound, but really ultimately chiropractic like hooked me later down the road. I was in undergrad to become a teacher, and I went to a chiropractor whenever I felt like I needed a chiropractor at this point in time. But I developed debilitating panic attacks and anxiety to the point that I went to the emergency room because I was so dizzy, I was lightheaded, my blood pressure was through the roof, my heart rate was taken off. And a 22-year-old kid goes to the emergency room, they think substance abuse and run all these tests, and of course that wasn't it. But they sent me to every single doctor, neurologist, ear, nose, and throat, cardiologist, and I just came back, you're anxious. So I basically managed it the medical route for a year, and I met a chiropractor who really taught me what chiropractic was, what the principle of chiropractic was, and I just bought in. I never experienced anxiety. I had asthma, and I was a distance runner. That was gone. Allergies gone, and it just like totally changed my whole perspective. Where I used to say like, God made man, man made drugs. They're okay. And then I went from like, wow, the body is unbelievably amazing, and we heal through our nerve system. And I just kind of kept gleaning information off of my chiropractor, and he ultimately was like, hey, have you thought about doing this? And I just simply was like, no. But then that was just the turning point. And about a year and a half after that, my wife and I moved to Atlanta for me to attend chiropractic school. So it was pretty awesome journey and pretty profound.
Yeah, and you're calling in from Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, I'm about an hour north of Philadelphia. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good. And if you're just kind of tuning in right now, this is the Art of the Specific call with Dr. Bill Moss. This is a monthly call that we do with some of the docs all across the United States and also soon to be all around the world. And so you enrolled into chiropractic school down in a small town of Marietta, Georgia, with a school known as Life University. So what was it like attending Life?
Life was pretty good for me. I mean, obviously there's pros and cons of any chiropractic school. I was very excited to be there, and I was fortunate that I got connected with Dynamic Essentials. I got connected with good chiropractors, and one of the ultimate reasons was my only experience in chiropractic going into chiropractic school was essentially just chiropractic. I went to a Gonstead chiropractor, two of them. That's all they did was adjust. When I knew I was going to be there, I read Lasting Purpose and Palmer's Law of Life before I even got to chiropractic school. So, so I was in the Gonstead case notes. So I was like super lucky to have these people that I wasn't looking for other things that existed in chiropractic. I was looking for people involved in Dynamic Essentials. I was looking for green books. I was looking for the philosophy. So Life was pretty good to me, and I had some great friends throughout the process that we just grew great relationships, and I still have plenty of them, and it's all over the country, and it's amazing to be in that and have a network of people all over the place that you can relate to. So,
so you just mentioned that your earlier docs were Gonstead, and then how did you come across upper cervical chiropractic?
That's a great question, because I think the longer I'm in this, the more I realize how people think, regardless of how chiropractors think. There's a difference to that, and I think that's one of the biggest lessons learned in the first year of practice. But I got to a point in school, I was always mesmerized how upper cervical guys just seem to have that edge to them, that confidence.
The upper cervical swag.
Yeah, the upper cervical swagger. So, and even Guy Riegman would talk about the stage where like there was a student who had MS, and they sent him to this great chiropractor who was an upper cervical guy, and I got to thinking fourth quarter when we had toggle, it's like everybody who's like the sickest of the sick or is like, we trust this principal, but everyone seems to go to the upper cervical guy when things hit the fan. So I was curious right from the start, but I ultimately made the decision that this is the work I wanted to do. When I was in my peak experience, I would see these people come in 3 times a week. We do the same things, and I considered myself a very specific full spine adjuster. And they just kept having the same presentations from an objective analysis perspective. And I'm like, they keep repeatedly showing up with these things, and are we making progress? And when you kind of get to that point and you know how to do things and you want to best serve people, I just kept whittling it down, and I just went for it. I really didn't even pick up this work until like 2 quarters before I graduated, and it just gave me the edge in my opinion. And I ultimately got into the whole analysis of it because I saw people get hurt by me not doing it the correct way. Like, I messed around with it. You know, you're in school, you want to put your hands on people, don't maybe not use the thermography. But I had an incident in my peak experience where they almost used me, because it was a full spine office, as like the weapon when everything else failed. And that's not good if you're not taking the right x-rays or the right scans, because then you start reacting on emotion, and it just, that I had an incident. The next Monday I bought my Titron. I was like, no more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You know, Titron is a thermography device that we use to scan each and every patient before and after to kind of analyze the spine to see if an adjustment is actually necessary or not. And then so you graduated Life University and you started working in Atlanta. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I had 2 practice experiences, and both of them were awesome. The first one, I knew ultimately I didn't plan to stay in Atlanta, Georgia forever. Mm-hmm. I know I got a southern accent a little bit when I was down there, but I didn't plan to stay and keep it. So the first year, I practiced as an independent contractor out of Daniel 2, who's an Art of the Specific Doctor's office, and he actually wasn't there at the time. And the cool thing was, I started doing this work pretty much right day 1 practice. He came in about 6 months later and was very intrigued with the work I did. I taught him a lot of the work I did, and then bam, he was in Art of the Specific. So I did that for about a year, and then I worked for Nick and Adam Tedder in Tequila, Georgia for a year. And that was a heck of an experience. Super busy, knee, chest, upper cervical office, incredible experiences. Really, really, I feel I have a huge advantage in my business and professional career opening my own practice now from having that experience. It was just awesome.
Yeah. So what kind of population of the United States kind of goes to see upper cervical docs?
You got good questions. You get a little bit of the whole gamut of chiropractic people, and what I mean by that is, you know, the general like pain, this and that, the ones that everyone kind of gets, but we definitely got a lot of failed cases in the full spine world. We also got a lot more people who had a lot more serious issues from the fact they're on multiple medications, they've been to so many different doctors, they're at their wits' end, and you also get the travelers. I mean, we had people from out of state come to get checked on a very regular basis. It wasn't uncommon to have people a couple hours away. So, and that's something you have to wrap your mind around. I mean, people came from all over, and it's rewarding, and but you feel you have the tools to actually take care of those people because they have a lot of things going on. So.
Yeah, and then you had a great experience with the Tedders, and then when did you find out about the Art of the Specific?
Yeah, I found out about the Art of the Specific. I was actually at the first Marietta seminar.
Oh yeah.
I think Kaylin Wells was and Terry Lohr might have beat me to the punch, but I was at one of the first seminars, and I'll tell you the main reason I was like a geek about this type of work. From when I found it, I was like all in. It made sense. It was congruent to me, and I was kind of tracking the Art of the Specific before they came, and I really wanted to get better at scanning. So I had my first experience with them in Marietta about 2 years ago, from right around this time, and I just and the way Andy taught, the way Sean taught, it made sense to me. And they didn't just preach to you; they actually wanted you to give them the questions and ask the questions to reinstill the value in the learning, which is ultimately what drove me to it. I didn't even get a lot of questions answered the first seminar. In fact, I was kind of mad. I was actually, like, literally, I came there to learn how to do thermography better, pattern work, and I got 0 answers except how to scan better, which ultimately was, if you can't scan well, I recently went back through my old scans, like first 6 months of practice, some of them, and I wouldn't let myself touch me, based on, because, so that was kind of my first experience, and then I was just all in. It was the one program that made the most sense to me.
Yeah. And then after you kind of trained a little bit under Andy, and now you are back in your hometown, or pretty close to your hometown, and just opened up shop. So how's that been going?
Yeah, we're weeks away from opening. So I'm like probably 2 weeks away from opening, and I'll tell you what, I love it. I love the entrepreneurial spirit of it, but it's crazy. I mean, just the mere fact of things that happen with delays, and we got delayed. We were supposed to be open a bit ago, but you know, we've had to do a little damage control. But honestly, I feel like I've done it right. I have a lot of awareness. I already feel like I'm the chiropractor for the area, and that's a good place to be. I feel like it's easy to talk about upper cervical with people and specific chiropractic because, one, it makes the most sense to me, so it can make the most sense to other people, for sure. And people, I believe, understand it ultimately. I think most chiropractors don't think the public will exactly get it. So. Yeah.
So what kind of things kind of popped up that you didn't really expect would pop up?
Man, I mean, just like permitting and change, that takes longer than you expect. You can plan on more. You're going to spend more money. You're going to spend more money than you think, but you can't be scared of that. Like that's part of the deal. It's like student loans. It's a better way to look at it as like that was really my investment. If I didn't do any of that, I'm not doing any of this. The money that I'm putting in right now, it's an investment as long as I'm taking the right steps and I'm doing the right actions, which I'm showing up on everybody's radar, so I'm doing something right.
That's good. That's good. And then your family's nearby?
Yes, there's 4 potential grandparents. So yeah, my family, my parents live like 10, 15 minutes away, and my in-laws are about the same. So we have a good support. Most of my family still lives in Pennsylvania, so they're very supportive. Plus, I grew up in this area, so it's easy for me to relate to people. So.
Yeah, you know, and one of the things that you definitely mentioned was the tight-knit groups that you kind of have. You know, especially with like Dynamic Essentials. You know, I went to my first DE a couple months ago, and it was a great experience. You know, I can see why people are keep coming back, keep coming back. Is that something that you have found in the Art of the Specific as well too, or what makes the Art of the Specific kind of different from any other training groups?
I'd say that probably the emphasis on training, and I think that's one of the pieces I like the best about it. I have a competitive running background. I was always an athlete, and training makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me to get something, know how to do it, and then just kind of move on. So it made sense, like this adjustment is best delivered in a certain way, and you need to have certain skills for that. You need certain skills with X-ray. You need certain skills with thermography, which ultimately give you the edge in a martial arts type perspective. So that to me was the best. The other thing was nobody just told me what it was or told me what to do. I had to like answer my own questions. I mean, Andy Roberts, I was going through some issues even with it where like physically I needed to get the right listing for myself, and he made me answer all the questions for 45 minutes to get my own listing. And after that, I understood it. Like I haven't had to look back as so much because I get it, and I thank him for that. So.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely a different approach that Andy does too. You know, it can be frustrating sometimes, but it's also you know, almost enlightening whenever you actually get it and it makes more sense, because I mean we could just easily just get the answers and just kind of move along, but yeah, for sure. And then thing that I think is awesome about you is that you continually to post videos. One of the things that the Art of Specific does is we videotape ourselves, whether we're taking scans or doing thrusts. And I might have borrowed some of your techniques, how you place your feet and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know of any other training group that videotapes themselves and post it for everyone to see. It takes a lot of courage too. And every time I've seen you post, you've always been really, really open and open to criticisms or critiques, and also there's a couple of times where Annie was like, "Good job," So
that's all nice. We're always looking for that one.
Exactly right. So yeah, I think that's awesome. And then, what type of chiropractic student do you think would be a good fit for upper cervical?
One that's committed. One that's committed to just disciplined, committed, confident. I'll tell you what, the hardest thing, there's a lot of hard things about upper cervical, but I think a lot of people don't believe they can tell somebody they don't need to be adjusted, and they're gonna have a reaction. So it takes a level of confidence and commitment for all of the components of it, from a communication standpoint to a conviction standpoint. So somebody that is searching for answers, but then once they know that this is it, they got to be committed, or this is what they want to do. It takes a lot of confidence. I always say, like, it takes balls to do this kind of work, because you take care of people that tend to have greater issues, and two, they're expecting a lot out of you, because you're the doctor, right?
Yeah, and that's really, really good advice too, because whenever I started with the Art of the Specific, I felt like I completely just started over, where I was back in first try or first quarter. I was like, what am I doing with my hands? I don't know where to stand, and then that's why I keep on coming back. Like everyone was asking me, like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going back to Dublin, California, or to train under Sean again, especially this weekend. So, and speaking of which, if students are interested out in the Greenville, South Carolina area, which is home of Sherman College, there's actually a Art of the Specific Module 3 and 4, spinography and adjusting, November 22nd and 23rd, which is both days. It's going to be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is the perfect place to begin your journey towards mastering the analysis and correction of the upper cervical subluxation. So yeah, if you didn't get all of that, I will definitely put all of that in the information of the show notes below. So my last question that I always like to ask docs is, what would be your greatest advice for a student?
Greatest advice for a student, man. I feel like there's so many things. Greatest advice I would say is find the people that resonate with you to go to for advice. Don't go to everybody for advice. I think people scatter themselves and then they look for the answer they're looking for. Find the real people who you consider your mentors, go to them, and then put blinders on and forge forward. Because I think the more fragmented students get, the more they're trying to mix it all together, the more complicated it gets. It's like I feel so free being in my hometown, not around chiropractors now, because I know what I want to do and I know how to do it, and I'm free to tell people what chiropractic is. So I would just say keep top 5 people, right? They say are your big influence, so keep those and listen to them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's huge advice, because sometimes we kind of get stuck in these chiropractic bubbles, especially in school too, and everyone's trying different things out and learning different things too. It's like scatterbrain sometimes, for sure.
And you have to do that to find your thing. So
yeah, and I know there's going to be a Art of the Specific out in your area soon. So everybody, be sure to like the fan page on Facebook, and then kind of follow along and pay attention to different things. And I'm sure I definitely want to make it out there and visit you up there too. So that'll be great. So Dr. Bill, thank you so much for sharing with us today. If you want more information or want to connect with Dr. Bill, I'll put his information in below. Every month we'll be doing another interview with the Art of the Specific docs. If you like this video, please share it with your classmates. give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. My name is Dave Train, and this was the Art of the Specific Call for October 2014. Thank you so much, Dr. Bill.
Thank you.